Hey, deserving listeners, George and Anfisa, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
I'm not allowed to do basically anything I want to do. I feel like I'm just...
Okay, let's look at their texting. Let's see. From George, he says, I'm going to try to cash that check again. Well, I'm going to try to cash that check again. Okay. And then a little bit later, she texted George, hi, my love, cat face, heart eyes. He responds, good morning, my princess, with a heart. She says, how are you? He says, I hope that you slept well. I'm here at work, though. I got caught up with work, and I think I'm going to be a while. Okay, so this makes me feel so much better because she says, hi, my love, how are you? You know, those are normal conversations that romantic couples have with each other. So, okay, behind the scenes, she is warm, but on camera, she's not. Because why? I don't know. I could only take a guess. But, yeah, this feels so much better to see this, because if I was going to proceed watching this couple without any indication of any kind of warmth. So I just have to assume that there's a lot of warmth, or at least some indication of warmth going on outside of the show, which would justify a lot of the things that are happening. The fact that he's still in the relationship, the fact that she's still in the relationship, the fact that, yeah, okay. So this makes a little bit more sense to me.
Like in a cage or something. When George texts me that he's going to be working all day, it makes me really mad that he leaves me alone for so long.
And then she does angry emojis, and then she says, are you kidding me? And she's talking about how she can't work and how she's bored, and I don't know if I included this, but she said, America is different than I thought. It's boring. And I'm like, well, what did you think it would be like? Like, it would be like the Kardashians or something, like you instantly have a support system and a bunch of friends and a bunch of money. Like, you only know George. So if you only know George and he's working, then what did you think was like? Did you think there's a party on every block or something? I don't know. But yeah, I would expect that if I went to Russia and only knew one person and they worked a lot, that I would be in charge of my own entertainment. I would either try to meet people, or I'd bring a project to work on, or I'd go adventuring, or I'd make friends or something. You know, I wouldn't just be like, I'm bored. And again, it's I don't know about her, but we all understand that children will do that, right? They will get bored and they'll say, I'm bored. And then, because they're hoping that you will entertain them, often they're hoping you'll interact with them. So maybe that's what she's saying.
There was no call. You just blocked me.
No, I didn't.
Anfisa likes staying on the phone with me while I'm at work. She gets a little bit lonely.
How many times does she generally contact you during the day?
I don't know, it's hard to count.
Okay, interesting. We are seeing that she frequently reaches out to him all day long, and I didn't show this scene, but he was buying an engagement ring for, $15,000 or under, because that's what his budget is, which I have to say is a lot of money for a ring, but it's a little bit more reasonable than what they were looking at before. I can't remember the price, anyway. And Anfisa has access to his Find My iPhone function, right? Like you all know what that is. And so when your phone is on silent, apparently you can make the other person's phone ding this because it's supposed to be, be loud, so that if you lost your iPhone, you'd be able to hear it, or it would alert someone who stole your phone, or someone who just happened to have your phone, like if it's in a cab or something, it'll bother them enough that they grab it. And so she was doing that because he said he had to work late. And now we're hearing that she calls throughout the day. And so now I'm thinking that she does have relational traumas and does have abandonment fears and does have dependency issues of some sort that would explain a lot about what we've seen. You know, normally when we have those kinds of schemas and relational traumas, we see fighting. Like, I can't believe we might see evidence of distorting, but at least some effort. Like, I can't believe you did this to me. You're ruining my life and you treat me like crap. You know, some kind of offering of how you're feeling or what's in your heart. But the way that she talks to him in front of the cameras anyway, it's like he is a disgusting piece of gum on the bottom of her shoe. And I did hypothesize that this was some kind of tough exterior she was putting on to protect herself, and it very much looks that way if she is very much wanting to be with him and desperate for contact with him and cannot tolerate being away from him. Then that would explain a lot. And then that also would explain how he's been talking about her as someone who says a lot of things that she doesn't mean because she might get triggered a lot and distort a lot and then lash out righteously, but there is no basis for the lashing out, potentially. And then when he did that hugging scene that was so cringeworthy, maybe he knows that she actually wants him to do that because there's been a pattern of that in the past because of her tough exterior, that she actually wants him to pursue her, and there have been some indications of that. It's not a good style of relationship to be in for anyone's sake, but okay, this is helping me to feel much more grounded. You know, I've been saying that this relationship is groundless, you know, is spurious, but now it's starting to make a lot more sense. Because that's different. You know, the way she presents, you wouldn't think she would be desperate to talk to him because all indications show that she hates him and only likes him for money, but now we're hearing something much different than that.
At least 1,000.
I need to call my client back.
No.
Oh my. Oh, I can't talk.
Sometimes it is frustrating, especially when I'm taking care of something for my business.
I'll call you back in just a few
No.
seconds. Can you? Oh my.
Yeah, that's controlling to say, no, I'm not going to let you call your client back. I don't need you to be on the phone with me. You know, I'm so dependent on you, or I'm so desperate for contact. I'm so preoccupied. I'm so disorganized, attached, or whatever, that I don't care how you feel. I need to, you know, and so if I was to take a stab, given what we're seeing right now, and I feel fairly confident, and well, as far as hypotheses go while watching a reality TV show that's largely scripted, I feel like this explains a lot, and I'm imagining it's going to explain a lot moving forward. Who knows if it's right, but at least it'll feel non-spurious to me. It'll be a foundation to what I'm seeing. That for her, she went through profound abandonment and or relational trauma, abuse when she was young, and she got locked in on a stage of life that is like 3 years old, in which, you know, you don't have a ton of mentalization about what's going on in other people's minds. You don't have a ton of empathy really for other people's feelings, because you're young and you're mainly concerned about yourself and you're just trying to survive. And you're in a constant state of being abandoned or harmed or something, so you're in a constant state of hypervigilance and trying to protect yourself while also trying to, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? So if you're being abused and abandoned, or at least emotionally abandoned, because, you know, when you abuse a child, even if you're there in the same room with the child will feel abandoned by you because you've abandoned their emotions. So you don't have to be abandoned. It doesn't have to look like abandonment to actually feel like abandonment to the child. So I would suspect that she was profoundly abused when she was young, perhaps sexually, given the way that she presents. I don't know. But the fact that she is in a relationship style. Wow, this really does possibly explain a lot. That she's in a relationship style of the only thing I have to offer is my body and my beauty, my attractiveness, my sexuality, maybe. I mean, she didn't say that, but perhaps it goes that far. And I need to be with someone that will support me the way a father would. And I will then recreate my relationship with him in that I will see him as someone who is constantly abandoning me. And I've also internalized the abuser and will abuse verbally at the very least, and withdraw frequently emotionally, because that's what happened to me when I was young. And I'm in a constant state of being triggered, and I never grew up really emotionally past the age of 3. I don't really have, I have empathy, but it's a 3-year-old version of it. I am desperate for closeness, but I'm also terrified of acknowledging that I'm desperate for that because I don't trust other people. This is more like disorganized attachment. So, and then he has his own issues that kind of dovetail with that. I mean, when I say it out loud, it makes everything make sense to me. I don't know if it's true, but I'm going to look out for data on that hypothesis.
Are you kidding me? Are you joking? I need to make this phone call. Oh my goodness.
So, I don't know what just happened, but I think he was trying to make a phone call, but he got another call to say, I don't understand. Or did he call her because she hung up on him and he's saying, I can't believe you hung up on? I don't understand what's happening.
Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Use the link below or the promo code Kirk because that really helps us out. Let's talk about burnout. Signs of burnout include difficulty concentrating, no motivation, irritability. Are you working too much, not taking enough time for yourself? Often, burnout will just creep up on us, and before long, we've had months, if not years, of being worn thin, Well, that's where therapy comes in. I remember when I was getting burnt out in graduate school, having a therapist to talk to once a week was a lifesaver. And you often hear me saying that BetterHelp can be a really convenient option for getting therapy. Also, online therapy has been demonstrated by empirical research to be just as effective as in-person therapy. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Kirk. That's betterhelp.com/Kirk. Get the help you need. You deserve it.
You're normal.
What the is the problem? I need to make this money.
So, okay, don't call her. But, okay, he is turning his hurt of being hung up on into anger by raising his tone to her. I will tell you that I have seen this behavior before. People with disorganized attachment, with personality disorders that accompany disorganized attachment, they present in a lot of different ways. But one of the ways that I have seen is exactly this pattern, and the way she presents, I don't know if it fits her. She could be, completely different than what we're seeing on the show, but she could be that. And I have seen a version of that in which there's that statement of, you annoy me. And when I first heard it from her, I interpreted it the way that I think I would interpret it if someone in my life said that to me. But the people, clients that I've worked with that would say that, it usually was actually trying to be nice, because on the scale of the way that these individuals will react, given their defensive structure, to say you annoy me all the time is actually saying, there's a little bit of a, reading between the lines of, but I love you anyway, or I wish you didn't annoy me. There's a little bit of a request there, because further down the road into abusive talk, it gets way worse than that. You know, like if I said to my wife, "You annoy me," especially if I said it frequently, I mean, that would be an atomic bomb in our relationship, you know, well, I don't know about atomic bomb, but that'd be a big deal. You know, unless I was joking or she was trying to annoy me in the moment and it was a joke. But if I just generally said, you know, frequently to her, just like, "Yeah, the way you are, you annoy me," like that would be a huge criticism and a really hurtful thing and really unprecedented in our relationship. And so, and I'm not saying our relationship is perfect, but I'm just saying within, you know, relationships that are doing fairly well with two people that were raised fairly well, to say such a thing, not always, of course, but you know, it's significant. But if your normal is over here, the way you were raised and the way you typically will operate in a relationship, to say "you annoy me" actually is far high on the spectrum for you in terms of in the direction of being nice or offering up an opportunity for reconciliation. I think that's what we're seeing, but I don't know.
She's driving me crazy. Right now, I'm not even thinking.
Proposing.
Hello? En la Grove le das a la izquierda. Y ahí a la derecha está una 99-cent store. God, I just want to throw this phone out the...
I don't understand what's happening because he's on a client phone call with work, and I think Anfisa is calling, and there's a setting that it somehow interrupts his phone calls. That's what it looks like to me. That he can't, that's why he was like, "Let me talk to my client." Because I'm like, well, why are you calling her? But I think it's because she has the ability, like she made him handle, you know, there's so many, okay, I don't know if this is an abusive relationship, but there's so many elements that if someone told me, I would say, it looks like high control, intimidation, and coercion to me, and one should look into that. But maybe he went willingly, but it doesn't seem like he is happy about it. But if she said, "I'm only going to be in a relationship with you if you let me essentially invade your entire phone," which is a humongous red flag for coercion and abuse. If someone says to you, I demand access to your phone, whether you like it or not. Now, there are situations where after infidelity, I'll actually even talk about that. Of course, I would never make someone hand over their privacy in that way by any means. But, you know, barring anything in that direction, it's a huge red flag for abuse because the other person wants to control, they're jealous, they're trying to protect, you know, they're very much attachment insecure, and their solution to that is through control. If I saw the name calling and the eye rolling and the I'm only in it for the money, and, you know, the way, you know, get out of the bed, in fact, get out of the house, and I don't care that you slept in a garage, you know, I would say that's abuse. That's abusive. It's harmful. It's hostile. It's unnecessary. It's mean. It's awful. So now the way George presents, I don't think he feels unsafe, but maybe he does. I don't want to assume that just because he's a guy. But I could see him saying, well, yeah, but I know I could leave at any time, but I love her and I want to be with her and I see the good side in her. And if I could just get through to that, you know, I'll certainly see that. So even though we might label the behavior abusive, he might not receive it as such because he knows that he's safe and he knows that he has options, or he knows he has power or something. But yeah, so I don't know if that's what we're seeing, but is that a function on a phone? Let me know in the comments where you can, is it like an emergency? Can you set like a thing? Well, if this person calls, interrupt everything because I want, you know, in essence, hang up on the person I'm talking to. Because that looks like what's happening.
Window. Like I'm literally making a deal for $15,000 and you're really it up.
I don't give a
it's like, wow. Her whole thing is she wants money, and he's making a deal for a lot of money that presumably he would just be handing over to you at some point. So okay, if we go with disorganized attachment, if we go with some personality disorder, then a lot of distortion, a lot of desperateness, a lot of focus on the pain that you're feeling, the abandonment that you're feeling. It's just like, I don't care. I just want you to be with me. I'm so desperate, but they don't want to exhibit vulnerability because they've learned to not show that. But so what comes out is just like, I don't care. You must talk to me and never talk to anyone else.
Is that the Find My iPhone beat?
Yep. That's it. It's the famous sound.
Yeah, I mean, if I described to you a relationship in which someone was trying to work and they're desperately trying to earn money to fuel someone else's constant need for exorbitant amounts of money and material items, and says you're annoying me, and they invade your workspace all day long. You could almost argue it's like kind of pseudo stalking behavior. You break into the person's phone. You're like, can you please let me work? I was on the phone with a client, and you interrupt and you say, I don't care about any of that stuff. I mean, that's abusive. There's really no other way to describe that. Is there? I mean, let me know in the comments. Am I missing something? Because when I first the first episode I posted, I look in the comments, and there were people like, woof, Anfisa. But then there were a fair amount of people saying like, well, I hated both of them. And, maybe he does something deplorable in the future. I'm guessing, maybe we're looking at a Colt and Larissa situation where they're editing it in a certain way. I mean, it's certainly possible, but am I missing something? Because if I am, I don't want to piss anyone off. But when I see, so I don't know what's happening with them, but I want to say what I'm seeing so that if you ever see it in your life, you can properly label it. Because if this is happening in your life, unless there's some very specific justification for it that I can't even imagine, then this is invasive, it's intimidating, it's coercion, it's unnecessary. It is, I have power over your entire life. I can ruin your work, I can invade your space, I can invade your phone, I can prevent you from talking on the phone, and when you talk to me, I will say it's because I just want to, I don't care about you. Like, how dare you do anything other than just be sitting right next to me doing whatever I tell you to do. Like, recognize that is abusive. And why would anyone do that unless they're coming from a place where they feel entitled and they have a childhood that taught them that was how life works? All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.